whether it's what's going on in the market or what's going on in the election lawsuit / challenge. It's a food fight out there, man.
It's right out of Animal House. Remember that scene? It's crazy. Yep. There's a Fed, meeting today, and Jerome Powell.
Your boy.
I thought of the scene where when they're in the, I think they're in the courtroom, and they're going bullshit like that, because I found myself calling bullshit on Jerome Powell. I mean, he said something. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me. When we're done using all our tools, we'll be able to put them back in the toolbox, which is such a crock of it's so preposterous. And listen, I've been outspoken about it. I write about it. I am no fan of the Fed. I think they're absolutely going to be the greatest villains of the 21st century and whatever. I'm not looking to be the old man, get off my lawn stuff. But, they continue to put forth policies that are going to absolutely, in my opinion, lead us down a real bad path. And you see what's going on in the U.S. dollar. You talk about it a lot. I mean, the dollar is getting smoked like a white owl, as we used to say.
I think you said Ciparillo, man. The white owl. Did you ever find yourself? So this is part of like the rite of passage, I think, of getting older, is where me and my buddy Austin, we used to go down to Hartsdale, and we'd go into that Shopwell in Hartsdale, and we were probably 15. And I hope my kids aren't watching, but we would go into that Shopwell, and somehow they'd sell us a warm St. Pauli girl. And we'd buy some tipper. No, backwoods smokes. How could anything that looks so wild taste so mild? That's right. So we'd grab a couple pouches of backwoods smokes and a warm St. Pauli and sit on the rocks overlooking the town and think we were badass, dude.
Yeah, and, of course you were.
We were. So anyway, Tipperillos. Look, my guess is
Hartsdale. By the way, it's funny because Hartsdale for us, like if we went to Hartsdale, that was like going to, Mar-a-Lago. For you, going to Hartsdale was like going to.
No, it was lowbrow.
Sing Sing. I mean, it's all about where you were.
It was lowbrow. No, we went through this yesterday. I mean, you not only didn't have running water, but I think you were getting dropped off to school by horse and buggy.
We'd have to shoe the horses in the morning.
So Powell comes on today, and he might as well be when they put up the big picture of flounders. They're going through the pledges,
and when they're throwing stuff.
They start gunning beers. Yeah.
He's a legacy.
It's a shame what happened to Kent Dorfman's car, by the way.
He had it coming to him. You got to be smarter than that. You can't be bringing a car on campus freshman year. You just got to know better.
My thought of that scene, though, is it really goes straight to Fawn Leibowitz and
Fawn.
Obviously the roommate.
She died in a tragic kiln accident.
A kiln accident.
I mean, that movie is so brilliant on so many different levels, but. Were you a Mandy Pepperidge fan?
Mandy Pepperidge and Babs Jansen.
Babs.
That's a great poll, man.
That's a tremendous poll. But I mean, the sleeper was the women from whatever college that was.
She was the chick from Raiders of the Lost Ark. The worst part of that movie, by the way, is when she's obviously sleeping with the professor, who's Donald Sutherland, and what's her
Otter.
When Otter walks in. And kind of, catches it all going on. You see Sutherland in the kitchen reaching up to grab a coffee cup out of the cupboard, and that long sweater rises up to show his ass,
and
which
it's
uncomfortable.
It's more than uncomfortable. I mean, that was cutting edge, cinematography back then. You weren't getting a lot of.
I bet they retook that scene probably 14 times, so they got the right amount of ass cheek and sweater. All in the same place.
But Donald Sutherland, by the way, great. I mean, not to come down this rabbit hole, but I think he was in the Dirty Dozen, and I think Telly Savalas was in that.
That's a great movie when you think about the badasses that were all kind of called to action there. When I think Sutherland, though, this is a sleeper movie, and it was scary, dude. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, that was
good poll.
It was a sci-fi when,
Real quick on Sutherland, I'll give you another Donald Sutherland movie that a lot of people don't respect. I think it was a great movie. Charlize Theron, The Italian Job with Wahlberg and the guy and Jason Statham there, who's a total badass.
Statham's a badass. Yeah.
And by the way, he's a huge fan of Fast Money and Commercial Break. I know that for a fact.
He appreciates just how edgy we get at times. By the way, Kiefer Sutherland, I know a lot of people think he was born on second base in the acting world. I think Kiefer's got some chops, bro.
He's got acting chops. Absolutely.
The question is, after what's now 9.5% on the triple Qs and the NASDAQ off the lows from Thursday.
Straight line up. It's incredible.
What do you do with this? Because, again, COVID cases today in the U.S., 130,000 COVID cases, the biggest day on record. The wave progression in the U.K. is downright scary. So you've got COVID. You've got uncertainty around look, the elections. I understand. We said this yesterday. The market seems to make the call. The market's telling you right now. I mean, the VIX is down today. The VIX is not worried about lawsuits. But I find it hard to believe this isn't going to get sloppy, and there is unrest around the country, and it's only just begun. So back to Animal. I mean, it kind of feels like we're on double secret probation. I mean, it feels like the market is certainly that the top end has to be bound if you believe that there really are the realities of what we are facing both before elections on expected uncertainty out of the elections. All right, here we are. But also the fact that the economic recovery, including ADP numbers, jobless claims numbers out this morning. We got a huge payroll number tomorrow. It's not going to tell you that the job market is stronger, Guy.
I agree with everything you said. I'm shocked. Listen, I think you could see a bounce from where we sold off from in a week. I mean, you could sort of figure that one out. But the magnitude of this rally makes zero sense to me. Now, the move lower in the VIX from 40 to 30 made sense. But I don't think, just as I thought the VIX at 25 wasn't pricing in a contested election a month ago, the VIX at 27 is not pricing in a contested election today. And by the way, that's exactly what we have. And, President Trump, if he were to lose or whatever, we go through to decide a winner, he's not going to go quietly into the night. Benny Mardones notwithstanding. So I just don't see what the market's looking at right here. It makes no sense to me. On top of that, as we mentioned, the dollar continues to get torched, which I know is a tailwind for equities until it's not. And I think we're precariously close to that.
Speaking of going quietly into the night and Mandy Pepperidge, what was going on with her and Greg in the car up at Muldoon's Point?
I think what was going on.
It wasn't Muldoon's Point, by the way. I think
Muldoon's Point. My Benny Mardones reference, which
Muldoon's Point was the place in
I want to say Muldoon's Point. That sounds like a Happy Days thing.
No, Happy Days I think was Inspiration Point.
Inspiration Point. Where they watched the submarine races, which is the dumbest thing.
And that's when Richie had his thrill. He found his thrill up there.
With Mary Beth, I believe she came on later. By the way, season 7.
Sleeper in a straight out of American Graffiti. By the way,
I was watching. I think not Colbert, the guy after him, the British guy who's a genius, whose name escapes me. The late Corbin, right?
Yeah,
not Corbin Burnson, something Corbin.
By the way,
James
not Jim.
Corden.
Not Jim. If you're British, you have to be James. You're never Jim. You're James. You're Andrew. You're Michael. You're never Mike. Sure. Anyway, sorry.
Sure. Henry Winkler was a guest, and I think he's fantastic. But it's so hard to wrap your head around today's Henry Winkler with the Fonz. I mean, with the early Fonz, season 1 through 4. After that, he went off the rails entirely, as did the show. But that early Fonz was a badass.
So let's take the Fonz back to the market where I've been out there saying, and people watch our show and they've got minds like steel traps. They don't forget this stuff, and they shouldn't. And we need to be consistent. So I said I thought the NASDAQ, the triple Qs, which are the NASDAQ 100 ETF, were going to get to 245 before they were going to get to 300. We are dancing back, near 300. We're not there, but if I had to take this back to Fonzie, people like us to admit when we're wrong. And yet there was that time where Fonzie had to admit he was wrong. And he was like, Richie, I was rude.
Right.
I was rude. Fonz, were you wrong? Yeah. That's it. So look, I've been wrong about the NASDAQ. And much in the way the Fonz once in a while found himself wrong.
You know what? But look at how you have aged over the years, and look at how the Fonz has aged over the years. I would submit I'd much rather be you than today's Henry Winkler. And with that, we got to get out of here.
All right. So Babs Jansen, if you're out there, you hear what Guy's saying? Look me up.